The Bonus Army March, a forgotten protest in U.S. history. In the summer of 1932, during the Great Depression, 43,000 World War I veterans and their families marched on Washington, D.C. to demand cash payments for their wartime service. This protest, known as the Bonus Army March, was a pivotal moment in U.S. history that rarely makes it into school textbooks. The veterans were asking for early payment of a bonus promised to them by the World War Adjusted Compensation Act of 1924, which was scheduled to be paid in 1945. However, with the economic hardships of the Depression, many veterans were desperate and needed immediate relief. What happened during the protest? The Bonus Army set up camps in Washington, D.C., building makeshift shantytowns near the Capitol. Their peaceful protest attracted nationwide attention, with some Americans sympathizing with their plight and others fearing unrest. The government's response: President Herbert Hoover refused to meet their demands, citing budget concerns. The situation escalated when Hoover ordered the U.S. Army, under the command of General Douglas MacArthur, to disperse the veterans. What followed was a shocking display of military force against civilians. Soldiers, tanks, and tear gas were deployed to clear the camps. 2 veterans were killed, and many others were injured. The shantytowns were burned, and the protesters were forced out of the city. Why was it forgotten? The brutal response to the Bonus Army was a significant public relations disaster for Hoover and contributed to his loss in the 1932 presidential election. The government's handling of the protest was an embarrassment, and for decades it was downplayed in history lessons. The legacy of the Bonus Army. The event highlighted the economic despair of the Great Depression and the sacrifices of veterans who felt abandoned by their country. In 1936, Congress overrode President Franklin D. Roosevelt's veto to grant early bonus payments finally. The Bonus Army March is a powerful reminder of the struggles faced by veterans and the importance of standing up for one's rights, even in the face of overwhelming odds. It's a chapter in history that deserves to be remembered and discussed, especially as a lens to understand how governments respond to public protests.